Morning. Carl's here. Uh, Me in my own stupidity. Oh, welcome. Red morning. Look at this. It's 9 in the morning on a Saturday. What am I doing? I'm drinking a zero sugar Coke. Vaporwave in the background. Meanwhile, outside, it's nothing but sunshine and rainbows, man. How's everybody going? How's everybody doing? It's good to see you guys. A lot of T Rexes in the chat. Welcome to the T Rex army. uh, So if and when Carl can get here, he'll get here. If he doesn't, then this one's totally on me for screwing up the logistics. I got some plans. Not the next episode, but the episode after that. We're gonna try another Danny California tape episode. So it's those are the ones that always get the guys most riled up. No idea how it's gonna go. We're gonna work over the next week here a bit about some details, some nice bohemian sex positive stuff, and see how that applies to you. So why do I have Twitter open right now? Fun fact. We were thinking about the topic, and I was like, oh, you know what a great one would be? Carl has the book. I don't know if you guys have read it. Gendernomics 2. It's in. I'm pretty sure I have it in the description. If not, it'll be there by the time this thing is done. It is a great story for guys who are trying to still figure out, like, where do I start? I just found out who Rollo Tomasi was. What's a shit test? How do I get started? And he's like, okay, so let me just start with the guy who's the absolute worst guy ever. We'll start with him. What does he need to do to get himself going? And he's kind of goes through that. We were going to talk about that, and we'll still talk about it a bit. I probably won't be as eloquent as Carl. The guy who read it once, like a year and a half ago, is never going to be as eloquent as the guy who wrote the damn thing. Having said that, I forget some parts of my book occasionally when you guys remind me. It's not the point, though. The point is, I'm bringing up some tweets. All right, where is this one? What the hell does he mean by this? What the hell do I mean by this? Feminine imperative has made it so that men think they are hypergamous. We aren't. We will smash everything, not the best thing. So, I've finally done it. I've finally put a Rollo, made a title of a video, Hypergamy. So what is this even? What is he talking about? Let's go back. Men who smash the least have the highest standards, or that's what they tell themselves. The hell is this? I have found that without fail, there is a all right, we don't need to have that in there again. There is a 100% correlation between guys that have the highest standards in women and guys that sleep the least. And that's because our egos refuse to let us admit failure. So it turns out, if you haven't slept with a girl, or you haven't slept with one in a long time, it's never that I didn't do anything attractive enough. It's never my logistics didn't put me in a place where there's girls around so I can even have the attempt. It's never my Tinder photos suck. It's never anything. It's always, well, I don't like these women. This juice isn't worth the squeeze. It's basically that. And it's a giant cope. It's sour grapes. Because I know, and I know this from my experience. I know this from other guys' experience. I know this. Everybody who's had experience knows this. It's that you could be having sex 5 days a week. But if you want 6 days a week, and the only option is some, like, barely 5, well, you're going to take it because, like, men aren't women. And again, I keep saying men aren't women. And then I keep seeing crap like this, where men are talking like women. Men who smash a lot have high standards since they know what makes a good long-term partner, and they can get almost anyone they want. Men who can't smash say they have high standards in order to have an excuse. Well, maybe I'm wrong. Like, the second part there, he kind of gets it, which I think he's kind of poking fun at the whole thing, so whatever. Here's the ad for the book. Perfect example, by the way. So I was looking at Twitter before, and this is going to lead into the whole topic. And I was like, hey, this is a great one. Some guy named Painkiller or VO. Your past shapes your future. Twitter's a funny place where alphas simp for crackheads, blah, 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 damaged goods. Basically saying this chick is trash because she didn't shave her armpits that morning. Now, whatever. You can say what you want. Oh my God, she's got a tattoo. Oh my God, her hair's short. Oh. any number of like ways to dismiss the person, but I mean, put her in front of you guys, have her available and willing. I guarantee you, 99.100% of the people will be looking at this stuff. Oh, I think he banned me, or somebody banned me. I don't know, whatever. Oh, they deleted the thing. So this holistic honey one, it's probably some OnlyFans chick. I don't even know, but she nails it. Like, do you think he's had sex recently? Nobody has ever turned down sex over armpits. Ever. Never happened. So how funny is that? Twitter always provides the proof to its own tweets. Now, let's put this away. Get to what the topic's about here. Zenith absolutely nails it here. He's just rejecting her because he thinks she'd reject him if he tried. Now you're understanding why the male ego is probably, like, your ego is not your friend. And everybody goes through this. It's not, like, it's very easy for us to look at some chode online and see this. Super easy. But when it's you on that dry spell and it's your ego on the line, you're going to believe the same thing. Everybody believes the same thing. You have to actively work at not believing it in order to figure it out. And this is one example. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about female imperative stuff. Rollo loves talking about the female imperative, and he's not wrong, but it kind of sounds a little bit abstract. So a lot of guys just take that to mean in the same way they screw up the ideas of alpha and beta, where it's like, well, everything good is alpha and everything bad is beta. Why? Because guys who have no alpha traits don't get laid. It's like, yeah, but they also end up in prison. But nobody tweets about that because there's not a lot of, or nobody makes YouTube videos about that. Why too much alpha will get you killed? Because A, nobody's ever going to have that much. And B, there's not a bunch of prison inmates like, man, it sucks how I'm always in prison getting laid all the time. I need to find a way to settle down in the suburbs and find a nice quality woman. They never say it. So there's no audience for that, even though it's absolutely true. Too much alpha will get you killed or get you in prison. And that's just the way it works. Turns out that alpha being desire and beta being comfort is a thing. They're just tools, man. They're just tools. And when the feminine imperative takes over, which in this case is like men thinking like women, they think men are hypergamous. You think men are hypergamous. Well, if we could sleep with any girl on the planet, we would only sleep with the best ones. It's like, no, you would sleep with the easiest available and the least resistance ones. And then don't take that resistance the wrong way here. Don't take it literally. What I mean is, yeah, and I had friends in college who had like the it's all pink attitude. Greatest wingmen, by the way. If you get a guy who will sleep with anything and is somewhat decent looking, you buy that man a Gucci hat. You come out to every one of his birthdays. You carry him to his car. He is the champion of the world. Those guys are worth their weight in gold. And you need to treat them. Oh, Jesus. You need to treat them well. Because those friends are the friends. Not only are they covering the grenade for you while you're out working on a 2-set, a girl and her fat friend, he thinks you're doing him the favor by getting that cranky bitchy girl off his back while he can go pick up the frumpy friend who's fairly easy and compliant and actively working towards keeping his attention, right? Yeah. And granted, I get murky waters here. He's kind of like twisting a bit to make it fit, but he's absolutely right. Yeah, we're hypergamous at the best one that's available right now. That's true. So if you got a girl that's average and a girl that's like supermodel hot, and they both want you at the same time, well, I mean, let's face it, most guys are going to still shoot for the threesome, so don't even get me started on that. Yeah, so hypergamy for men, we don't have it. And don't fall for that stupid, what was that big fat fuck's name? Socrates. If you guys don't know who he is, it's like Colonel Sanders with a balding problem. He was part of the stuff that Chesty's talking about here. Anyways, he's like, well, Rollo made his bones off of hypergamy. I'm going to talk about hypogamy. I'm like, what the hell is that? I'm like, let's look this up. What the hell is hypogamy? You type it into Google. The act of marrying somebody of a lower social or economic class than your own. So it's literally the opposite of hypergamy, which, again, to use hypergamy and hypogamy like this are the same way that when guys use alpha to describe like wolf packs and the top dog wolf, the patriarch. It just shows A, you don't know what you're talking about, and B, you're trying to turn red pilled stuff into like a science, which it absolutely isn't. If you're looking for guys with lab coats and eggheads, like go somewhere else. Those guys always make me laugh. Well, we actually have the real science because it's beneficial to us. It's like science doesn't work that way. And this isn't science anyway. This is like auto mechanics. Fucking idiots. Besides, guys aren't, and that's again, that's just like, that's almost a way of supplicating you, right? Like, well, men are hypogamous. We'll only sleep with things that are worse off than us. And that buys right into that whole like feminism bullshit where they say, yeah, guys just want to have control over like, yeah, Carl's coming. I sent him the link late, so if he makes it, he makes it. If not, it's my fault. Where was I going with this one? Fuck, I gotta stop looking at chat while I'm on a roll here. Yeah, so it's just playing into it. It's saying, girls are like, oh, men just want girls they can control. And then guys are like, well, hypogamy, it's biological that we want some girl that doesn't know any better. It's like, no, that's not the case. We just want what's available. We just want what's available. You don't have to make this any harder than what it is. So then you got hypergamy. Guys don't have hypergamy. We don't have hypogamy either. Again, you can't frame the male sex drive by female definitions. It just doesn't work. And it not only does it not work, it's not useful. Like for all you guys here, none of this is helping you at all, other than to know when your ego is messing with you. And that's the takeaway from this. If you're looking at a girl who's perfectly fine, doesn't have to be the supermodel, doesn't have to be, what's my joke, the Asian swimsuit model PhD, or like, yeah, Asian scientist supermodel. She doesn't have to be that. Oftentimes you're going to find, the best of what's available. The best of what's available and willing. And yeah, if you find that the best of what's available and willing tends to be, better off than it used to be, that means, yay, you're hanging around better circles. You're getting better status. You got more, sexual market value. Good for you. Absolutely should be a goal. Shoot for the best, right? But, I mean, let's not deny, shooting for the best is, I don't want to call it a social construct either, because that's like, I hate that language. But it's like, it's something above and beyond our biology that we kind of do for ourselves, because genetically we don't give a shit. Outside of the genes, our biology doesn't care. So it's funny. So what do you do with this information now that you got it? Well, you can sit here and write a bunch of tweets about, well, technically the hypogamy and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, no. Just realize when you're out and about, if you're starting to see girls and you're starting to dismiss them and dehumanize them, or if you're going to get shot down at the bar and you're like, she was probably a lesbian anyway, just realize, man, that's your ego fucking with you. And you're feeling something right now. You're feeling a fear of rejection, and your feelings are bad, and you should feel bad for having them. Take that for what it's worth. My Latin is bad. Shoot for or shoot on. Oh, hush, Merc. My ego became a priority 10 minutes after I hook up with the ugly gal. Many such cases. And that's the side part of this too, right? Most guys have woken up after a night of drinking and got a slump buster, and they're like, good, now I feel great. Then you turn around, you're like, shit. It happens, man. It's the guy's version of the walk of shame. But you know what? You've gotten past the slump. You've got one under your belt, and you're looking at something, you're like, I can do better than this. I gotta be able to do better than this. And you will, because now you got the confidence to know no matter what happens, I can live with that. I can live with that. Yeah, post-nut clarity. But that's what the point is, right? Like, you realize your sex drive is all-encompassing. Like, you guys want to talk about biology? Let's have a real talk about biology, not this stupid phrenology crap that you see people on Twitter and YouTube and the MGTOW, MGTOW 69420 talking about. Your biology has given you incentives to just want to smash left, right, and center. You have some frontal lobe hopes and dreams and expectations, and that's great. Have those things. You should have them. And it takes work to get there. And sometimes it's talent and skill and a numbers game, and everybody knows all that stuff. Just never forget, your ego is underneath saying, grab everything you can get, man. Do it all. Do it all. Or your ego's like, dude, you're not going to get any of these girls. And if you get rejected, they're going to absolutely destroy your caveman reputation. So you need to start telling everybody that all these girls are just sluts and hoes and you don't want any of them. Either way, your ego is like that little devil on your shoulder, just talking all kinds of shit. Just let it go, man. Just let it go. Another telltale sign of things you can do with that before we move on is if you end up being one of those guys who talk about your own SMV, sexual market value. The hell's he talking about? Well, yeah, it turns out our 1 to 10 rating scale, it's a loose thing for guys to describe quality, like what kind of woman you would want. And it's funny because we use a 1 to 10 scale, but no girl is ever a 1, a 2, a 3. So those numbers are completely useless. The lowest I've seen guys score girls is like a 4, which makes sense. Like she's overly obese, hideous, disfigured, too old, that kind of stuff. Most girls are a 5. Because girls, when it comes to genetics, the woman of the species tends to not expect, like it's the median, it's the average, it's the right in the middle. Guys tend to filter out through the extremes. So our bell curve is a lot fatter and flatter and wider, and theirs is taller and skinnier. So most girls are a 4, 5, or 6, period. A lot of guys are like 2s and 10s. So the scale doesn't really work so well anyway. So when you're using this thing, just realize that it just means that in between our biological thirst, the ego telling you, just grab anything you can get, man, go for it. Between that and the fact that genetically, most women tend to gravitate towards average. Gravitate towards the mean. This means there are no 10s. There are no 2s. Most of the numbering system is ego. There's 4s, there's 5s, there's 6s. What does that mean? Well, either I won't sleep with her, I will sleep with her, but I won't tell anybody. I will sleep with her, but I won't brag about it. Or I'll sleep with her, and I'll brag about it to anybody who'll listen. That's it. There's your male hypergamy. Our hypergamy is ego investment. And when you catch yourself, like I said, you guys listen to 3 hours of Rollo a week, rambling about all kinds of hypergamous, examples and feminine imperative. And you guys know, I know the speech is like the back of my heart, or back of my hand. I've read them for years. I've listened to them a bunch. We've talked about them on Rule 0. So just realize the trick isn't to read more red pill. The trick is actually to apply it to your life. And here's a great example of why that's not the case. Guys just aren't doing it. They're sitting there, and it kind of gives some credence to I don't like how people blame Rollo for it. They're like, he's making these guys angry. I'm like, these guys are already angry, but their ego has refused to let them read the words on the page in front of them, and they're just reading into it what they want to read into it. So maybe if you're lucky, a year down the line, after the guy's done hating women or whatever the fuck he's doing, he'll finally click. It's like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, I get what he means about war brides now. Oh, fair enough. Jeez, I feel really bad for yelling at those guys with my MGTOW 42069 handle. JJ, hello from Melbourne, Australia, lockdown capital of the world. Look at this. Hey, a small segue. Yes, thank you, sir. Ontario had lockdown capital of the world, and I'm kind of glad we've lost the title now. We now almost have gyms open. Pools are almost open. I've gotten in a month of workouts now, and it feels great. Back has no Snap City. No ego lifting. It's been wonderful. Although I can only do 3 visits a week max. That's the only things I'm authorized by provincial decree. So, I was gonna switch topics, but you know what, Cold Steel, I'm gonna fix your take right here. I think that an alpha is a leader by definition. He's the type of man who likes to be in charge and likes giving orders or suggestions. Look, man, I know you mean well, but this not only gets the idea of what alpha is wrong, it gets the idea of leadership wrong too. Funnily enough, I have experience in both. One from the red pill side, the leader stuff by the military. Leadership is not about barking orders or suggestions. That's control freak Karen shit. That's feminine imperative rotting your mind, man. When a girl thinks about being in charge, she thinks that means to get to boss people around. That's why they get so mad about being called bossy. It's because, yeah, you are. You're nagging a dude to do things, and you're showing no leadership. Leadership is wanting people. It's not demanding respect, it's commanding it. So what do I mean by that? If you're a leader, you have 2 types of power at your disposal. You have hard power and you have soft power. Hard power is like cop pulls you over. He tells you to get out of the car, you get out of the car. Otherwise, he arrests you, he takes away your freedoms, or he shoots you when you think you have a gun in the glove box. That's hard power. And he doesn't have to be friendly, he doesn't have to be charming, he doesn't have to be persuasive, anything. It's just you must follow this. Now, most people don't have it. Even the military doesn't have it for the most part. Like if you're the captain, if you're the head of the department, you kind of have hard power. But beyond that, unless somebody can petition them to act on your behalf or something like a charge or whatever, you don't have the hard power. If you're just middle management, master seaman sitting in there, you have soft power. So people have to want to follow your direction. And there's a ton of ways to get there. First is trust. They need to trust in your abilities. They need to trust that you're getting all the crap off their back. That's probably your primary job as a leader, is to take all the guff from above, so that way the guys from the bottom don't have to deal with it and they can just focus on the task at hand. That's the part they don't tell you about leadership, the part that really sucks. Like I said, Trump probably ate a shit ton of flack from all kinds of people inside of his organization there, voters, special lobby groups, whatever, just so he can go on Twitter and talk shit about Hillary Clinton. Like there'll be a poster. Every base has one somewhere where it shows leader versus boss. And the boss is sitting up on a table with a whip, whipping a bunch of slaves, dragging it off. Looks like an Egyptian hieroglyph. And then leader is the guy who's in front pulling it with him, right? Which it's accurate enough. But then alpha. Ooh, quick pause. We're coming back to this one, Cold Steel. Cal Marlin, thank you for the $10 super chat. Just became a Patreon member. Never been on that site before. This will be interesting. Dude, you're going to love it there. It's all red pill. It's all field reports. It's all guys swapping notes. It's all guys actively sorting their life out. There's no theory, no abstract stuff, no yelling at drunk chicks. And honestly, I've been seeing guys pulling their life back together from some horrendous shit, and it's just awesome. Other guys, even better, managed to walk around and not have that horrendous shit happen to them. A couple divorced guys walked in there, and they were walking in, yeah, she's all amicable, everything's great, and we're like, all right, here's some preparations you're going to do. She may go feral, and this is usually why they go feral, and this is usually when they go feral. Get all your ducks in a row. Come at this from a position of strength. And, first guy is like, yeah, whatever, and then it happened. We're like, oh, okay, so I guess I see your point now. But then that's good, because then the second guy and the third guy and the fourth guy, we're like, go back to this guy's posts, go back to his own your shit stuff, and you'll see. And he's like, holy crap. Yeah, 6 months later, there it is, happened. But then, and here's the best part, it got to the point where, the latest guy we had, where he's like, yeah, this never happened to me. It's like, he did all the preparation though, right? He's like, yeah, everything, to a T. And I'm like, yeah, you know why? He goes, why? Well, it didn't go exactly like this conversation, it's just me talking into the camera, but yeah, why did it go like this? And I'm like, yeah, it's because people only attack soft targets, So if you're prepared for this, prepare for war, expect peace, it's amazing how good it comes. Anyways, Cal, you're going to have a great time there. It's good, too, because we had just a giant influx of people the last week. So this latest one has a lot of, really, really, I don't want to say bad field reports, but they don't know how to craft a field report yet. So you're going to see, if you go to that episode, and then the week before, where it was a bunch of the guys that have been around a while, you're going to see the difference there, and you're going to help you craft your action plan for you. But back to Alpha. Yeah, Alpha has nothing to do with leadership. This is, Rolo talks about this all the time. I talk about it all the time. Most red pill guys do. When people think of Alpha and Beta, they think of it as good and evil. Binary thinking. Remember that? Binary thinking Rolo talks about? What the hell does he mean by that? Well, that's what he means by it. And it just so happens that no matter what in your life is Alpha, some guy will assume everything I'm doing in my life is Alpha. You talk to some Pat Stedman type. He's like, charging the Capitol and getting a felony when you have a brand new kid is Alpha. Being stupid is Alpha. Guys who sleep with a lot of women say sleeping with women is Alpha. And to be fair, they're the only ones that have it right. Alpha and Beta are very clearly defined within the red pill, regardless of what MGTOW 42069 are telling you on YouTube. Alpha is a conceptual device used to describe female desire. The hell's he talking about? Well, chemically, frame it however you want. You can say chemically. Sex hormones are testosterone and dopamine. Anything that gives a testosterone or dopamine response is an alpha quality. A lot of things fit into there. Being aloof, the dark triad stuff, being tall, being attractive, giving a girl, drugs at the party scene on the weekend, all that shit matters. As long as it makes a girl wet, it's alpha. Great. That should be awesome, right? Not necessarily. Because anxiety is a huge aphrodisiac. That's why guys always wonders, I don't get it. All of a sudden, some girl started flirting with me, and then this girl, started acting right again. It's yeah, well, that's because of jealousy, and jealousy causes anxiety, the fear of loss, the fear of missing out. That's how pre-selection works. Oh my God, these other girls are going to steal this top-tier guy. I better go get him back. I better go get him before he does. All these things cause anxiety, and anxiety is one of the best alpha traits there are. Problem is, you can't have too much anxiety. If you're in a marriage or in a relationship or just dating a girl that you wouldn't mind settling down with, and all you have is alpha, all you have is anxiety, it's too much. And they're just I can't deal with this. And they'd leave. A lot of guys notice this. That's why it's called plate theory. Plates come, plates go. Girls start having the anxious talk where they try to lock the guy down because they're worried about losing him. Well, where are we at this? And the guy just says some alpha aloof shit. Well, we're nowhere. Anyways, get sucking. It's not going to suck itself. The girl eventually kind of loses contact, finds a nice guy with a lot more beta qualities, a lot more comfortable, and she gets that out of her system. But then she has that itch again. She calls him back 3 a.m. Hey, what are you up to? Yeah, my guy is great and he's safe and he's just so boring. And I know this one for a fact. This is I talk about chapter 2 in my book so much. Heels over head for Rose, because that's exactly what it is. There is nothing that will red pill you more to the concept of alpha fucks and beta bucks than being in a girl's hotel room. In them sweet walls. There's a Hodge Twins reference for you. And then having her tell you, mid-thrust, how great her fiance is and how happy she is. She's going to be a wife and stuff. And I was just now don't get me wrong. At the time, you're just focused on the task at hand. But that stuff stays in your brain. And then the next day, your brain's hey, dude, that's pretty fucked up. And you're yeah. It just sticks with you, man. I've been cheated on a bunch in my life, but I've only ever been that obviously the cheaty once, and that red pilled me more than anything. So that's alpha. And then beta is comfort. Beta is not a bad thing. If you want to have a family with somebody, a girl who's pregnant craves beta more than anything. That's why for a lot of guys in a dead bedroom situation, there's always a caveat. If your wife is pregnant, slow the fuck down. You don't need a lot of alpha because her hormones are raging into overdrive. It's like giving a girl Spanish fly. So you give just enough, but not more than that, because she'll lose her goddamn mind. And the last thing you want is a pregnant woman trying to weaponize shit against you, because they're going to win any battle. You'll never win that one. Plus the fact that you probably want to spend some time with your kid, unless you're Pat Stedman, you want to just rather go to jail first, but whatever. So beta is comfort. And think of comfort as, if you want to do it chemically, it's oxytocin and serotonin. The good thing about those is a lot of guys talk about pair bonding, which doesn't really exist, but the closest you're going to come to the concept of pair bonding is the oxytocin and serotonin responders. Hugs, making a girl orgasm, anything you would think of like a fatherly patriarchal thing, kissing a girl on the forehead, picking her up, carrying her to bed, tucking her in, all that kind of stuff, right? Now, this stuff is what builds those bonding chemicals, and those are what allow a girl to be comfortable around you, and when she's comfortable around you, she wants to be around you more. It's the same drug addiction, but instead of anxiety, it's the exact opposite of anxiety, which I think is complacency. Quote me on this one. Now, here's the problem with that. If you do too much beta, you end up in a completely dead bedroom. Yeah, that's great. You can go to India where they have less than 1% divorce rate, but do you really want that kind of a marriage? And here's the thing. A girl who has all the comfort in the world gets a little bit insolent. She starts to resent the husband. I'm not feeling any tingles. It's not how they say it is. It's just how it manifests. Could be a completely different thing going on inside their head, but it's just kind of irritating, Where's the tingles? Where's the guy? Where's that hypergamous best instinct? Where's the anxiety? That's why girls love indignation. They'll watch reality TV. They'll flip through TikTok. They'll do all this shit. They love watching bitches get angry at other bitches because they need that little indignation. And if they're not getting it from their man, they're going to get it from there. I'm not saying you have to do it all the time. Dude, that TikTok is giving girls that indignation scratch, that daytime TV is doing it, I think is the same process as guys getting porn just a way of like not putting all the onus on the spouse to be everything and all things. I'd say it's probably saved more relationships than it's killed, but just be aware it's there. So yeah, alpha has nothing to do with being a leader. Alpha has nothing to do with your job. Alpha is strictly, is it getting a girl wet? Is it making her anxious? Do with that what you want. Oh yes, and so a little PSA on the second channel, Digital Ryan. Go and subscribe to it if you haven't. I'm going to put a link in the chat here. One sec. 40 subscribers away from our first 1,000. This one's fun. We got a Discord link to it. There's a link in the chat to it. Come check them out. Subscribe to the channel. Like I said, you can always unsubscribe later if you don't want to. Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays, 10 to 12. Mostly Minecraft, but occasionally we'll throw in some other stuff there. And it's just a casual locker room environment. Guys can talk red pill to their heart's content. We can swap some notes, talk about, whatever you want to talk about, red pill wise. It'll be good. Oh, Jesus. You really are trying to bait me to COVID conversations this morning, aren't you? Coming out as trans vaccinated. I'm not actually vaccinated, but I anti it. All right. One thing about COVID. Just one. Look up the definition of vaccine in the dictionary. The key word is provides immunity. So what this is not a vaccine for the simple reason that it's not providing immunity. I'm just going to leave that there. What are we on time now? 32. Carl's not here, so I can't fill time with talk while I'm doing it. So we are talking about practice examples. You look like a very famous man called Terry Tibbs. Oh, you don't like his Telly Savalas looking thing here? Okay, practice examples. What the hell is that? That's actually the topic of the show, and that's why I used my tablet, just did like a quick... There's an art technique, which is like called a single line drawing, which I kind of tried to do that, but you can't really do it perfectly, so I did like a bastardized version of that. It has like this weird rawness to it, what you can see when you look at it. So that was the point of this, and it kind of tied in with the theme. What the hell does he mean by practice examples? Well, it turns out a lot of guys, when they learn about red pill stuff, the little that they do learn, because to be fair, it's usually like, I watched a couple episodes of Rule Zero, I read 4 Rational Male articles, and I'm part of Rich's community or something like that. And they're like, I'm red pill. It's like, no, slow down. You're red pill aware in that it means absolutely fucking nothing. There's more to it, and I'm not going to belabor. I talk about the damn different authors all the time. I think you guys are tired of hearing me ramble about Ian Ironwood and Athol Kay and Blue Pill Professor and all them, and David Clare and James Clare or David Clare. Fucking Christ, Franco, all them. Not going to go that point. Practice makes perfect, because I have noticed, and this is like if you guys have watching the Mids watches, that's the theme of it. I'm showing you literal field reports from guys in the trenches and how the locker room process works, which apparently people find it fascinating. Not as fascinating as me showing some TikToker twerking and telling men to shut up about her OnlyFans. But yeah, it's like it's the real work getting done, and it's just you'll see a guy who, all right, guys, I followed all your advice to the letter. That was like the latest one I just recorded, the Rambo. I just did everything you guys told me, and now the girl's bitching about this, and I don't know what to do now. It's like, yeah, well, you can't follow everything. You have to use your noggin. Some things are downright, like, contradictory. Some things are absolutely, not going to work for you. But you have to know why they exist as a strategy and what the purpose of them is. So what I was going to do... So it turns out, Ask the Red Pill shut down. They're going straight to the trp.red platform. So most of this stuff is going to be old and archived. I guess the last one was 2 months ago. Let's pull this one back up. Haven't looked at the list yet. I'm just going to look at some random one. First off, this is the one thing I want to say as like a giant critique of the red pill, wink wink community. You're going to look at these posts, and almost all of these posts are going to be some abstract shit. Ooh, I actually like this one because this is exactly what I was just talking about. We're going to go there. So see what I mean? This shit happens all the time. This random guy here, Biscotti Raspberry. Don't shit on the guy. He's fine. He's just trying to figure it out. Has a small amount of financial success. He goes out with women who sees this value, but it makes you feel good to reject him. Why? Now, knowing what we just talked about over the last 30 minutes, how would you think to answer this one? Like I said, this is how red pill guys end up knowing what they're talking about. It's not because we're smarter than anybody. It's not because we're omnipotent. It's not because of some fancy science. It's just because you read 7,000 guys saying this exact thing. And then finally you're like, all right, here's what's happening. How do you know that's what's happening? Because 500 of the last guys said that's why it was happening after they sorted it out. Yeah, it's because I see their flaws. Word for word, you'd almost think I'd staged this thing. I wish I could say I staged this thing a week in advance. I didn't. I should have, though. It would have been really clever because then I have some better talking points. No, it's not. He doesn't want to be seen as provider. That's not a bad choice. I think he wants to see that, though. That's the thing. Is it because I see their flaws, where they only find me attractive because they see me dressed well, drive a nice car, tell me what I do for a living? I worked hard for where I'm at. I consider myself lucky because I didn't need to step on anyone's ladder. Well, not a lot. I'm successful, find myself more financially stable and status-wise. I'm always going to the gym. Actually, I just went yesterday, and it feels so good. Haven't snapped my back yet. So yeah, so like you see this one right here. He's doing the Beta Bucks thing. He's literally Michael from Michael's Story. If you guys don't remember Michael's Story, it's on my sidebar series. It's a guy who's like went to university, didn't party or anything, watched the girls sledding it up, and he's like, you girls aren't going to find yourself a nice man. You're going to age out. And the girls are like laughing at him. Yeah, we will. And it's just a way, like when you're an anger phase guy, you look at that like, oh, well, the market's fucked for men and women. You look at that after your anger phase and you realize like, yeah, like they are going to get their cake and eat it too. There's no revenge fantasies. So you better start having some fun because those guys are still going to end up with better women than you. Ooh. Sam, I'm putting this up so I don't forget. This one's actually a good story. And it's not a genie bottle. It's a Pussers. So, yeah, I know it's going to sound silly, but I studied, didn't care for my style or look. So there's a couple things here with this field report. You see a lot of guys do this, where it's like, you know, the be yourself? Just be yourself and the girls will like you. Guys have this, like, feminine idea that there's some intrinsic value in being a man, which there absolutely isn't. Dick is a dime a dozen. Eggs are expensive, sperm is cheap. Girls have an intrinsic value because guys have thirst and we can't make it to babies. So every girl in her heart of hearts knows that just by existing, she's got an inherent worth. She's got a value. Even the most ornery, naggy, feminist, indoctrinated, shaved head psycho out there. Somebody's like, you know what? I could still get one or two in there. Worst case scenario, when the Taliban come over the hill, we can offer her to like Stan, the guy who wasn't a very good soldier. He can take her. And so when you have that intrinsic worth idea that everybody has their own value and men and women are equal, that blank slate equalism, and then you get to a point where you realize you start changing what you think of as like superficial things. Well, I'm just going to signal more status with my clothing. Well, I'm going to signal more status with my job. Well, I'm just going to have more pre-selection by signaling with my like social savviness. All these things he does. And like all of a sudden now they start to like me. And he thinks that's a lie. Because like, dude, if they knew the real me was the guy who was dressed like a slob. They didn't give me the time of day. Now that I look good, they want to give me the time of day. Like, fuck you. But that's the point. It's like, who did you think you were? Like, who did you think you were beforehand? Do you think there's some ultimate Chad out there somewhere who doesn't shower for 3 days, dresses like a hobo, and still pounds every day? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they have to be out there in a suit. Looking like a slob and being disheveled aren't the same thing. But yeah, it turns out if you're out of shape, you don't know how to talk to somebody, you're dressed like IT support, you have no status, you have no beta qualities, having a good income and a good job, that's a beta quality, still attracts women. Sure, you'll have to wait a little longer for sex, but they still do get sex. You change all these surface things, and guys are like, well, all of a sudden now you want me, you don't like my intrinsic worth. It's like, well, there's nothing about your intrinsic worth. You are what you do. That is the male condition. You are what you do. Anyways, he starts talking about the X's here, and you're always going to get this personal story stuff in these field reports. A lot of the times, like, this makes no difference. at all. But guys love to tell their stories. Again, that's an intrinsic worth thing. If you just knew what I've been through, you would understand the choices I have to make. It's like, yeah, no, I understand the choices you have to make. I'm telling you they're stupid. Yeah, and after 2 days, I left and ghosted her. I don't know why. I see myself acting more like an ass. But they're also attractive beyond my tastes. What the hell is he talking about? Sevens and above are too much high maintenance. It's probably one of those reasons. Again, sevens aren't too much high maintenance. They can be. They're only high maintenance, though, if you put up with it. Franco, if you go to Practical Female Psychology, when I talk about the materialistas, when you think of high maintenance girls, that's the ones that tend to fill it. And to be fair, they do that because it works. So all you're admitting here for a guy, he thinks he's saying that sevens are just too high maintenance. Make a video. Objectively, girls that are too hot are just too much to handle, and I don't feel like it, which is not true. It means he has no boundaries to enforce. He has no boundary enforcement mechanism. He has no frame. So wait, are you saying that girls will change when you change? It's like, yeah, female sexuality is reactive, dude. There's a reason that hot 10 out of 10 girl makes the engineer pay like hundreds of dollars every time they go out, and they're great friends and all this shit. Meanwhile, you go to see the guy she's actually dating, and some, just dude dressed in jogging pants that treats her like shit. It turns out these high stress, high maintenance women are not high maintenance at all. It's just that they get what they can get, and you're giving them everything. There's put the strong in that one. So we're going to talk about the genie bottle. If you guys don't know what he's talking about, it's right there. It is a decanter of what they call Pusser's rum. So when I got posted to my first ship, which is since now decommissioned, I'm that old, I sailed on a ship that's no longer around. Not because it got old. Well, I mean, it was built in the 70s, but I mean, that's Canada for you. It got old because it crashed into the tanker and they had to fucking body the thing. Yeah, and so we got our first trip. It was on a task group exercise. We do those every year. Excuse me. Every year in October. And you head down to San Diego. You meet up with, I think it's the 7th Fleet. It's been a while. Do 3 months of exercises. You pretend to fight each other in some weird war, and then you go into San Diego in your pearly whites during Fleet Week and get drunk and hit on chicks. It's a wonderful time. Best and worst 3 months of your life. So when you hit there, there's a place called the Naval Exchange. That's like the Walmart for military people. You show up with your ID, you get stuff, and you can always buy alcohol for insanely cheap prices. The tradition is your very first foreign port, you buy a decanter of Pusser's rum. Now there's the Admiral Nelson. There's the I can't remember all of them. There's like a Canadian one, a British one, and an American one. I think I have the American one or the British one. I really can't remember. I have to go look at it again. I haven't stared at the thing in forever. So I bought that at my first foreign port in 2004. And then when I retired in 2015, almost 2016, I brought a bunch of buddies up and we had my retirement party, and then we drank the thing. So yeah, that thing has as much sea time as I do. Came with me. It's been through more of the world than most guys I know, which is kind of good. So that's the story behind the genie bottle. Everything here has a story, by the way. Even that Sultan pipe. And that's like a Bruno joke. Yeah. Well, except for the Cobra Commander mask I got up top there. But that's just because I thought it was cool. But everything else in there has a story. And then Cal Martin, $5 super chat. Thank you very much. As somebody who grew up trad, Michael's story was stuck in my head for days after I read it. Yeah, which is absolutely the point, man. A lot of trads think they love that comeuppance story. They love what's that Jesus narrative? Like, you just be a good little Christian boy and everything will work out in the end. And, bad things will happen to bad people and good things will happen to good people. And it's like, welcome to the real world, son. That's not how it works. You eat what you kill. And those girls are sleeping around and having all kinds of good college fun because they can. And when they hit 28 and they want a baby, they're going to settle down and find a man and have a baby because they can. And when they get bored of them at 35 and they want to go sleep around with other guys, and the kids are now in kindergarten, so they don't have to watch them all day, and they'll divorce him because they can. And women are going to get everything, and you just got to be okay with it. Get yours, and don't put up with shit. Life gets amazingly better from that. Anyways, Oh, do I have COVID or something? What the hell? So is it because I'm fulfilling some sort of revenge or grudge I had from the past? Absolutely. So I'm actually kind of curious. What did anybody else say on this one? Ah, so smart enough guys too. You rejected a lot of times, so it's really a lot. Now when the side changes and actually feels good, yeah, that'll teach her. You're the man. This guy, yeah, not surprised he deleted it. You know what's funny with like the narcissist? Everything is about you except for blame. Oh, you've just seen how shitty they are. Their entitlement. Yeah, most red pill guys don't know what the fuck they're doing. Luckily enough, there's at least enough guys that know what they're doing that, cream will always rise to the top. So that's kind of interesting to see. I'm going to hit one more here. And then we're going to move on to the married side of things. Not going to touch it. Not going to touch it. Yeah, again. But you see what I mean? Like a lot of these ones too are just guys who have insecurities about something. But instead of just outright saying it, they have to use it as like some kind of like abstract question. Because then the more you can distance yourself from the language, the less it actually applies to you. What do I do with my life? Like, do you see these questions? These are guys that aren't getting laid on the regular. They're not. They're not having any success financially. Probably not a huge success. I mean, maybe the first guy a bit. And they're sitting here asking, like, what is the reason for the universe? Like, I want you guys to, like, if you take nothing else from this, take that. Most guys who don't have their shit together are focused on the big picture. People who do have their shit together are focused on what's right in front of them. And again, I recommend David Dutton's Wisdom of Psychopaths all the time for this very reason. A lot of people talk about the dark triad traits, which is like narcissism, Machiavellianism, psychopathy. They're like, oh, those are super attractive things. Like, yes, they are. Everybody seems to say, well, that just means you got to act like an asshole. An asshole, cunning, and be completely self-absorbed. It's like, no, man. It's like you don't understand. There's a why to it. Why are psychopaths seen as attractive? Well, it's because psychopaths, A, aren't codependent. They give two fucks about your validation. Absolutely unattractive trait when you don't have it, or when you have the codependence. So they completely miss that. Bonus in the attraction category. They are present day hedonistic. Focus on what's right in front of you. There's a great story from the book. It's the one thing I remember. I've told it here a few times, where they had an experiment with a bunch of guys with psychopathy and a bunch of guys without it. They had a giant giant stone on a forklift. It was actually like a piece of styrofoam painted to look like a stone, but the guys didn't know that. And they're tied underneath, and then the forklift would slowly drop the stone. When it hits the bottom, it crushes them, basically. It crushes their head, right? And for the average person, the lower it got, the more the guy's heart rate went up, the more he started sweating. Basically, the more anxiety he had. But for the psychopaths, what they found, cool as a cucumber. Nothing. I think it was like 2 inches from the guy's chest. Didn't do nothing. And they had some after interviews. I'm like, what happened there? He's like, well, like, why aren't you stressed? Don't you know what it's going to do? He's like, well, it didn't fall. It hasn't touched me. So why would I stress? So having that, like, inability to have, like, anxiety and neuroticism is like a superpower. It's like catnip to chicks, because chicks have neuroticism. Oh, I don't even know if I want to tell this story from yesterday, because it's kind of a nothing story, but it kind of makes the point. You know what? Never mind. Just a bunch of dudes on the bridge. One guy yelled out he was going to stomp my dogs. Girl starts panicking, and I'm like, relax, I got this. Got in a guy's face, and you could tell he wasn't afraid of an ass whooping. He had no teeth, but whatever. COVID's over in Toronto. Yeah. Again, more stuff. Big questions. Is the red pill specific to Western culture, or does it apply to women everywhere? Somewhere in here, a guy's insecurity or failure is in that question, but he has to hide it with so much shit there. And he doesn't even say. No idea. I don't know. How do you reply to basics text? These ones I like, because this guy is actually doing something. He goes, okay, I've gotten to the point where I'm texting a girl. Now I don't know what to do. But that's like a good question, because that's a logistical question. That means he has a direction he's going to. Again, is it better to live alone at 26-year-old? Like, you guys are seeing the theme here, right? It's a bunch of guys asking Dad, what do I do? Dad, what do I do? Now I'm going to show you something. For crying out loud, I might actually have to hunt for this one. And it's probably one of my favorite parts of the married red pill vice the red pill. God damn it, I hate the new Outlook. It is because there was a lot of those questions. That's the whole reason the Ask Married Red Pill subreddit started with, because guys kept asking what to do with their life. Yeah, asking the wrong questions. Absolutely. Where is it? Anyways, it was a post that was been stickied for the longest time. I'm not even sure why it went off there. Oh, there it is. We don't do that. You don't want us answering that. I'm going to put it in here. So when you guys are thinking about doing red pill shit, sending super chats to your favorite MGTOW 69420 guy, based on a lot of recent posts, it needs to be restated that what you can expect to learn from the course materials in the local Married Red Pill study group, which I don't know is a clever way of putting it. Women behave in a certain way in response to your actions and actions. Here's some tools that are available to you. Here's how to use these tools with examples, and that's every mids watch you're watching is essentially that. Here's how to use these tools with examples. Here's the tools that are available to you. And then why you're screwing up. Things that people cannot decide for you. This is something, if you guys take nothing else from this, take this. Whether you get married or not, whether you divorce your wife or not, whether you have a kid. Yes, there's guys actually asking, should I have another baby, dear internet strangers? Is it okay? Do you buy the car? Do you get the job? Do you move with a girl? Do you just move? Do you stay monogamous or do you cheat? Those aren't answers that you can get from another person, because those all depend on what your goals and your values are. A lot of guys very confused about the concept of frame. A great example of what frame is having your own idea of what you want to do. It may not be perfect. It can change on a dime. Every 5 years, you're probably going to look back going, fuck, that guy was an idiot. But that guy was cocksure about what he wanted until he didn't want it anymore. And that's like a Zen thing. Absolute passion for something. And then when you no longer want it, you put away as if it never existed. And that's just, everything is temporary. Yeah. I do like this little jab, though. Now, if you're asking these questions because you're curious what the population here thinks, like, if you want to fill out a survey, fill your boots. And that's kind of another thing. Like we always tell you, don't red pill your friends. Even in the subreddit, we have that problem. A lot of guys will have some fucking brain fart asking about, well, what does society think of? And most people love to repine and run their mouth, and they talk about all their red pill knowledge, and they do these surveys. Absolutely ridiculous waste of time. You can't prove anything's right. None of it really helps you. It's a fun distraction, but just put it where it is. Just realize. Yeah. I'm going to leave this up here because he's got to the point, but I'm going to get to it in a minute. But that's the point. Strangers actually making important life decisions for you. What the hell does that even mean? And that's the cusp of this. Again, Ish is absolutely right. People don't know what they want. They want permission. It is people do not want agency over their own lives. That's the point. What do you mean they don't want agency for their own lives? I'm telling you what they mean, man. Just sit down and shut up and listen. Agency comes with certain things. If you have agency, that means you have the power to make the right decision and you have the power to make the wrong decision. And the wrong decision is seen the same way that a rejection is seen. If you're one of those binary, like I said, Rollo talks about binary thinking all the time. Well, I'm here to tell you exactly what that means. Binary thinking are guys asking strangers on the internet. Why? Because there are conformists. Absolute conformists. Most guys love to make the same decisions the herd makes, because then you're going to have the same situation that the herd makes, and you're always among friends. But that's the problem. Have you guys seen what the herd is like right now? The herd is a bunch of fat, divorced men drinking and smoking weed all day. Do you really want to be part of the consensus? I know everybody's like, you got to strike against the grain and blah, blah, blah. And everybody loves that tough guy version of it. It's not a tough guyness to it. Just you don't want to be that piece of shit. That's all it is. It's not, yeah, you're the champion of men and nobody understands me but me. It's like, yeah, get that Sigma male shit out of here. It's not even importance, though. Like Rollo K saying, the feeling of importance and approval. It's not even the importance. It's the approval. But it's because everybody's terrified of making a bad decision. I'm here to tell you, you're going to make a bunch of horrible decisions. But what does horrible even mean? Like, you know what I mean? When you drill down the 5 whys, I don't want to make the wrong decision, so I want to be a conformist. Well, why do you want to be a conformist? Because if I make the wrong decision, that'll be bad. Well, why is that bad? Well, because she'll leave me. So that's your concern. Every decision you're making is based on this one girl in your life leaving you or not leaving you. No, I didn't mean that. It's like, well, you kind of did. You don't know you did, but you did. Let me posit this to you. If you have no idea what you want in life, and you're making all your decisions based on what does or does not make your girl happy, probably one of the most flippant of emotions out there, how is it you're going to know if your decision is going to do anything good for you? Again, most guys love to talk about women are the bobbleheads, emotional creatures, they're fickle, they don't know what they want. Why would you trade her most fickle aspect of her life as the compass to drive your life? It makes no sense. And when you explain it to a guy, they're like, that's not at all what I'm doing. But then you get into it and he just basically describes it with different wording. You're like, all right. That's why I always love it. Every now and then I'll have a tweet where I'm like, I'll say, so you're deferring to your woman. It's like, no, that's not it at all. And I'm just doing things because I know that if she's happy, then the house is happy and blah, blah, blah. And 100 words later, it's like, so you're doing it to make her happy. Whoa. Yeah, not being afraid of failure is a superpower, but you only get that from failing or getting zeroed out from time to time. Absolutely. Like, here's the thing, though. What is failure? I mean, I'm already telling you guys, it's not because the woman leaves. If you've got game, if you've got frame, if you've got a decent lifestyle, like all the basics in the way are out of the way, you can get another girl. So what makes that one so special? And I would argue, with the rare case of some guy saying, well, she's the mother of my children. Okay, we'll put you in a special category. That's not everybody. In fact, that's barely anybody within the red pill space. So I don't want to hear this chicks are special thing. They already cluster around the average. So if there's that one out there for you, I guarantee there's 100 more that are pretty much comparable. So I wouldn't worry about it. So what is failure? Well, it's not losing the girl. You can get another girl. She'll be just as good, a lot of times, or even better. Girls age out of the sexual marketplace. If you have a post-wall, nagging harpy in your 40s, and you're finally just done with it and you leave, you're going to start dating girls 20, 25, 30. They're going to be so much nicer and so much better. So don't tell me that like you're failing. It's not a failure. What is it? You're going to lose your job? You're going to lose your job in your industry? I'm like 4 careers in to the lifetime career average of 7 that millennials are expected to get. So I don't want to hear that career failure is a thing too. It's not a failure. It's a setback. It's a setback. It's a pivot. It's a leverage. It's never a failure. Again, failure is a very binary term. And again, I would argue, and this, I don't want to put this one in the red pill category. I want to put this as in Ryan's musings category. But talking about failure in that binary extreme way is more feminine imperative shit. Because for women, failure has an actual tangible thing. For them, from a biological standpoint, social ostracization. Like they need the herd to survive. They need conformity. They need consensus. Because everybody, like there's safety in numbers when it comes to chicks. A bunch of other chicks will help them ratify, we'll all fight for positions amongst the social group, but this gaggle of girls will be the top of the fuck pile. And that's kind of the arrangement they have in their head. And then, what did they say? It's the strongest weapon for a man is a gun. The strongest weapon for a woman is a man with a gun. So yeah, they need the conformity. They need the consensus. They are afraid of failure. And there's a biological reason for it, so you totally get it. But you're not that. Or you shouldn't be anyway. Well, I mean, should is a strong word, but like, there's no use for it. If you want to act like a chick, great. But you're probably going to get fucked like a chick. I'm just saying. Yeah. Thank you, by the way, Ryan. People take the absolute wrong lessons, too. They talk about accountability for the lessons. Actually, you know what? Let's switch that one over to accountability. What are we at here? 59. We're going to make it an even 1 hour. Accountability, drunk chicks. Can I just take a minute, by the way, to point out that holding women accountable and the yelling at drunk chicks thing is just a podcast version of Michael's story. Am I the only one who's seen this? Here, I'm going to, just so you guys know what the hell I'm talking about, I'm going to pull up Michael's story. There she is. Michael's story. Now, I had my own breakdown of it, which is, I'd say, the best one of it, because it actually explains the post-anger phase part of it, but we'll put it in here, too. Oh, shit. Totally forgot. Hey, what's going on, man? How long did I leave you waiting there? I wasn't looking. He'll come when he comes. The Michael story one. If you guys want to see it, I'll put a link to it in the chat. You can read it at your leisure. There. So yeah, when I see...
Okay, I should be working now.
Oh yeah, you're good to go. How's it going, man?
Not too well, man. The second COVID dose is really kicking my ass. And not only am I now fully 5G activated, I've also got fucking T-Rex arms.
Jesus Christ, you poor bastard. Well, get better, dude. I don't want to hear that the conspiracies about it are real, man. I don't want you to be that guy. Rollo already lost his mom to COVID. I don't need to lose Carl to the vaccine. The Alex Jones and me couldn't handle that shit.
Oh, it's fine. It's just a little bit of, from what I've heard, like the side effects of this one is a little bit harsher than the first one.
Well,
no,
I guess...
sorry for being late. I kind of accidentally fell asleep.
Yeah. Carl. To be fair, I was taking the blame on that when I realized I forgot to send you the link until like 5 minutes before. So I'm like, all right, well, if and when he can show, he shows. I'll eat this one. It's like that time you were late for work, but your boss was also late for work, so you get a pass. I love those days.
Yeah. I've been here for hours. What do you mean?
Fair enough. So at this point, I was just about to go on a rant about accountability and drunk chicks. And I was noticing, do you remember Mike? You remember Michael's story, right? The guy who, I'll have my cake and eat it too with sprinkles. And the guy's like, no chick's going to want you after the wall, or no guy's going to want you.
Oh, yeah.
And I just realized, like, the Kevin Samuels and that whole yelling at drunk chicks holding him accountable thing is basically Michael's story. And I found it absolutely funny that we've gotten to, like, the second link on the sidebar level of, like, red pill so far online. And that's about as far as we've made it. So, yeah, a lot more work to do.
That's fair enough.
So, yeah, on that one. Anyways, accountability and drunk chicks. I don't get that. Again, like, you don't own women. Most women. Like, I don't even own my woman. As a guy, I don't think you own them anyway. It's kind of like they are trying to own you. Like, any girl is going to try to lock down a man that's top tier that she wants. Especially if she's in a phase in her life where she wants to, like, settle down with somebody. It's not so much that you're trying to own her. It's that she's trying to own you. And then you're making it have conditions attached. Heaven forbid. Heaven forbid. Yeah, you want to lock me down, that's fine. And then what's the Rich's 7 qualities of a beautiful woman? Have long hair. Don't be a cunt. Stop eating so much, but make sure to cook. Don't spend too much money.
Don't be a cunt is a big one.
Yeah, it's a huge one. Dude, I think more guys don't talk about that and really should. Don't be a cunt.
Well,
I mean that in the Australian sense.
No, but it's like when you see those vetting lists, right? And it's always like things she has to have. It's never like, okay, things she absolutely never ever should the fuck have.
I like those ones better too, because it's always like the what do you not want? Because what's that? It's the economic principle where we value not losing twice as much as we do for winning, like dollar for dollar. It was like a gambling analogy. That's the one. Thank you. It's like, why would you not apply that to relationships too? So instead, I think that's the accountability. Hold the accountability to yourself, not letting hypergamous drunk chicks into your life unless they start acting right.
Yeah, even then, I mean, like, I have a theory that people have a limited capacity into acting right.
Well, I know you would say that. Hell, I remember that one time you told me the story about walking home one day, you were just having a bad day and you punched some dude in the mouth for getting in your way.
Well, what I mean by the point is just think about it like the same thing as when you're trying to cut or whatever, right?
Yeah.
You can stick to a cut for X days and then you just have to have a cheat meal or a break or something.
Yeah.
Like, at some point, like, let's say you've been eating clean for like a month and a month straight. The capacity to avoid that cheat meal is going to become less and less available to you. Foxwolf, I sound like I'm in a cave because I'm hiding from the Taliban. Didn't you read that the Taliban took over fucking Afghanistan again?
Oh yeah,
I
I
had to
heard
move
about
to a
that.
completely different goddamn cave, man. You have any idea how hard it is to get full Wi-Fi coverage in a goddamn cave?
Hey, are you from Wales? Because I think I might have seen you on Count Dankula talking about your vacation to Afghanistan last week. That guy is hilarious. Well, here, let's hit cold steels here. Doesn't polygamy automatically solve a lot of problems? Nothing automatically solves anything. Dude, you know what automatically solves problems? Your feet. Not being there. Most problems are environmental. But yeah, having two chicks instead of one is just means you now have twice the problems.
Yeah, you're also going to have that situation where once you introduce polygamy, you're going to have leftover men, and that's going to create a new problem.
Yeah. I mean, that's somebody else's problem. That's Afghanistan's problem. That's not mine. I
It's
still laugh, by the way.
Indonesia's problem.
OnlyFans losing their financial backing for porn and Afghanistan's Taliban thing. Like they're fighting right now over which is the bigger outrage, and I don't know which one's winning.
That's a good point. I'd probably go with the Taliban.
I'd say so too, but then again, I don't. I treat hoe facts as less important than people getting murdered in the street. But what do I know?
It's just one of those things that's going to happen. I just think Afghanistan is one of those countries that if it was a planet, it'd be like the fucking Klingons or something.
I was thinking more like Arrakis. Yeah, the Dune planet. Minus because instead of the worms, I guess instead of the worms, it's got that pipeline to the Caspian Sea. Oh, your mic's popping a bit though. Apparently.
Yeah, I'm sorry. On the headset mic today, I just haven't been able to refine the other one.
Oh, fair enough. But yeah, here I don't want you guys to get distracted with the polygamy thing. Like Foxwell, for example, here is like, I don't believe it should be legal though. Don't worry about the high in the sky fucking abstract shit. Just focus on what's happening in your life right now. If polygamy becomes legal or illegal, you're not going to have any control on that. If it happens, adapt to it. If it doesn't happen, adapt to it. And to be fair, we kind of already have that. Like, what is Tinder? What is dating profiles? What is that if not just like the VLAN of soft harems? Does that make sense to anybody? Carl, I think you know what a VLAN is.
Yeah, but I mean, we do have a soft harem society already. The
Yeah.
question is just going to be like, think about like usually throughout history, I would guess that women went through those cycles kind of naturally with one dude,
Uh huh.
but now they're going through it with a bunch of different dudes.
Yeah, and instead of one guy having a harem of 20 girls, you have 100 guys that have a harem with 20 girls, but those girls are all kind of overlapping all the other ones. Meanwhile, there's still that group of guys not getting any, and they're the ones going to the Red Pill subreddit asking, "Hey, now that I got a job, does it make me feel like a man when I reject chicks?" Oh yeah, you missed that. I was showing some of the field reports. I was going to do like a singles guy field report versus like a married guy field report, and you can see the differences in guys that are like using their ego to hide from their inadequacies to guys who are like flat out just, all right, guys, I don't know what the fuck to do. I don't got enough time to talk about anything. Just help me clean my room. Let's just pull that one up. I'm going to pull that up now. We'll have some fun with that. All right. Because, and this was like another thing, I was like, this is a great topic because you have gendernomics too. And I was telling guys, gendernomics 2, there she is essentially like, what do you do? Starting from scratch. How do you build yourself up from zero to hero right at the start, right? Any good podcast or YouTube channel recommendations? Probably us. I haven't looked at this beforehand either, Carl, so I'm just going to try and find something that looks interesting.
Yeah, sure. It's almost gonna be fun when you throw random shit in there.
Yeah. Ooh. Oh, yeah, this one. Let me see. I think it might have been deleted. Oh, no, we still got it. We still got it. We still got it. All right, here's the one you want. Jesus Christ. Why does this guy have to use so much goddamn text? So this is some guy doing some work on his phone, deering it, explaining it, excusing, rationalizing, whatever. His girls gives him shits like, are you done cheating on me? Because he's on his phone instead of paying attention to her. He starts explaining himself. And he keeps screwing this up. He always feels need to explain himself and to kind of like argue with her every time she throws out a little bit of shit at him. Same thing here with the kid. Yeah, wife throws her hands in there. Basically, she gives him a bunch of shit, and he keeps acquiescing to it. He keeps explaining himself to it. He keeps like treating his wife's emotions like he's walking on eggshells. So I don't know. Do you want me to leave this here so you can actually read the whole thing? And then I'll rant about it here.
I already got the Cliff Notes version of it, and I kind of get where he's coming from. Yeah, I think it's kind of a human thing to try and explain things to other humans.
Absolutely.
But in this case, what she's throwing out is she's throwing out something irrational, and he's taking it seriously when he should just have made a joke about it.
Made a joke about it, told her to shut up. There's like 5 different things off the top of my head you can do depending on what she's generally like and what she responds well to. But I think, and that's the problem with guys explaining themselves too. It's that they think, and it's exactly the same. It's like, you know how guys, when they send you a field report, Carl, if they ever do, it's always, they give you backstory. Like they have to explain their history of their life up to that point.
It's not just like backstory, it's like an original trilogy. And then like the prequels on top of that. That's one of the things I've never because there is necessary backstory and then there's completely unnecessary backstory. Like, she has a habit of acting out when I do X, Y, and Z is necessary backstory.
Right.
When I was 12, my dad took me behind the woodshed and beat me with the length of the garden hose for 3.5 hours, so every time the clock hits 5, I have a panic attack is not necessary backstory.
Very colorful analogy. I like it.
Oddly specific.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. And there was my response to it, too. The same thing. When you stop treating every fart from your wife like a medical emergency, you'll stop feeling like a fuck-up. I am surprised how many guys buy into the equality relationship thing, and that's exactly what it is. You're right, because if you think the relationship is equal, most guys take that to mean that girls and boys are equal and their wife thinks like they do. Like, why would I be bitching at my wife about this stuff? Well, it's because I assume they're fucking up from some logistics thing. So if I just explain to her all the logistics around it and all my intentions, then she'll calm the fuck down. I will take responsibility for my wife's emotions. This is the sober married version of yelling at drunk chicks about accountability. Right there. That's why that shit resonates. Because then every guy who's watching Fresh or Fit or Kevin or whoever else does it, yelling at a chick is like, yeah, that's just like my wife that was nagging me about this, that, or the other thing. And yeah, you don't have to care. You don't have to explain
side note,
yourself.
though, I do really want to do like a podcast called Dirty and Fat, just to see how that would go over.
I'm curious, what's the format going to be?
It's going to be exactly like Fresh and Fit, just be fat as fuck and never have a shower.
Oh, so you're going to do like a gaming podcast or like a Disney Star Wars one. Cool.
Yeah, it's going to be on Twitch.
And then he's here. I guess this one's a bit from the back topic, but the harems aren't set in stone. It's fluid. Neither is the 80-20 rule. Men move in and out of both groups, right? All right, so that's 2 different things. The harem thing, yeah, that's why I said it's a VLAN. Girls will casual sex with the kind of guys that are top tier guys that are available in their circles, and that's a harem, but it's not set in stone. There's no law behind it. It's just casual sex. And then the 80-20 rule, yeah, it's the 80-20 rule is there. The Pareto principle, every time you put a group of something and you add something in there that requires some kind of merit, you're going to find that 20% of the people are getting 80% of the things. But that's the thing. There's not one sexual hierarchy. There's like hundreds of them, all in your city. Hot girls are in your area. There's different ones sleeping with dudes at the bar, the ones deeping with dudes at the coffee house, the ones fucking the boss at the office. There's all kinds of hierarchies. You just got to be 20% in at least 1 or 2 of them, and then join as many as you need to get 1 or 2.
Yeah, you also have to figure out which ones you are in like the top 20% of.
Yeah.
And don't make the mistake of being like, oh yeah, I'm top 20% into the Dungeons and Dragons hierarchy, and going to the club and be like, hey, I'm a 13th level wizard.
Some real Sigma male vibes coming from that one, Carl.
Yeah, I know. It's a hardcore Sigma.
Mm-hmm. I mean, but to be fair, that's what the Sigma male thing kind of is. If you get a guy who's like, captain of the football team and he ends up going to, the bar, he's not going to be the top 20% of, or he's not going to be the guy in charge at the club who gets all the chicks, but they're going to look at him going, like, why isn't he? It's because he's just not part of that group. He's part of a different group, but he's clearly top of the fuck pile. Because wizards suck, go for the rogue. Well done, Jack. You took Carl's one flippant D&D reference and you guys are running with it.
Yeah, of course they are, man. I mean, I did see Jack in chat, and he's been spending way too much time with the masculine geeks.
I can see that. They're filling your heads with nonsense, brother.
Yeah, he needs to go read some Evola or something.
Oh god, that hasn't been a thing in a while. It's awesome. Now everybody's on marks.
Why?
I don't know. Well, I know it's because remember like the atheist thing where everybody loved to see evangelicals getting roasted. It's that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's that now. But the thing is that there's no actual communist anymore, so a bunch of rich kids are deciding to play the Ric Flair and acting like it. That's why you got like that Vaush guy. Rich Beverly Hills parents sitting in his nice, wonderful place that's paid for already, and he's pretending to be a communist.
Oh shit, yeah, that reminds me of like at one point I was watching like political debate, and they have like these. Apparently, the politicians are working from home too. And you have one dude that looks like he's basically broadcasting from his closet, and then the other dude looks like he's broadcasting from a throne room.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was about 2 levels of affluence away from him being there in a loincloth being fed grapes during the fucking interview.
I don't know why that would make me laugh.
I would love to do that at some point, though. Like, imagine being a communist politician, and they're interviewing you, and you're laying there on, like, a bed, one of those day beds. You have a couple of girls there in bikinis feeding you grapes while you're being interviewed. Can you imagine the outrage?
I don't know if there would be outrage, because that's kind of
It'd
like
be
the
fun
Trudeau
to see.
political roadmap.
Yeah, I was going to say, it would be interesting to see Trudeau pull that off and see what the Canadian press would do.
That's all he does. Well, actually, technically, he's on the road right now, just talking about how we need to like have second class citizens. If they're not getting vaccinated, we need to let them know you're not allowed in the grocery store. You can't go here. And there's like his 5 people in the crowd are cheering on, and I'm like, oh boy. You got the Prime Minister of Canada saying like, hey, we need to regulate these Canadians to sit in the hole and just not move and die in the ditch. I'm like, how do you get elected on the platform of fuck that guy?
Well, it's kind of like what you've been seeing all over the world, man, with the whole thing. The response is just starting to get a little bit over the top.
A little. Jeez.
Not for like the US and shit, but if you look at countries that have actually handled this reasonably well,
Yeah.
that are still like, oh yeah, we have 80% of our population vaccinated, the rest are under 10 and won't get sick, but we're still going to need everyone to stay at home and wear masks everywhere.
Oh, I know. Or like New Zealand, 1 death and they lock the country down.
Who
like,
died though? Was it a really important person?
I don't know. Actually, no. If I remember, it was like some 80-year-old asthmatic guy who was already in the hospital or something. One of those kind of cases, but it's just weird. And I will say, I tried to do my best not to talk about COVID the whole cast. I almost made it. But yeah,
It's not easy, Ryan, when you become like a Canadian anti-vaxxer at 40.
Dude, I hate that I get to be called the guy who's gotten more vaccinations than just about anybody through the military. I had to get double because I lost my booklet at one point. So like, well, we could just look up your records or we could just give you all the shots again. So I've already been like triple vaccinated. I'm the worst anti-vaxxer ever. If I have a kid, he's going to have double autism. What are we talking about here? So more talk about fresh and fit plus stuff. Yeah, it's like I said. And guys, don't take this beef wrong. It's like, I don't know about Carl, but I don't hate the guys. I just don't like the content. And I find it's like not good for Red Pill. I'm actually surprised after that one dude in Plymouth went on the shooting spree talking about how he was Black Pill. And that he follows like Kevin Samuels in the Fresh and Fit podcast. I'm surprised there was no kind of adpocalypse for all the manosphere. Or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, same, but then again though, this wasn't like a high profile thing, the shooting.
Oh, You didn't shoot with better media coverage. God, you black pill guys,
No, but it was
you can't even serial kill right.
yeah, technically spree killing. But anyway, point being that this didn't get near the attention of the Toronto Van Man
Mm-hmm.
or a bunch of the others. So I think we're just getting to the point where it's like a school shooting in the U.S.
It
That
doesn't even
back in
make the
like the
radar.
no, back in the mid '90s, there was a school shooting. It'd be in all the papers for a week. Now, if there's a school shooting, there's like a small note about it at the bottom of the seeking connections page on page like 29 of the fucking paper.
Yeah, I do. Oh, sorry, I was distracted by this one. First half of the podcast, I was basically spending the time describing that alpha is not a person, and it doesn't mean the ultimate goodness in man. But yeah, it's the concept's good. It's not an identity, and I think I keep saying it like third time here. If you guys take nothing else from this, take this, but like take that too. Alpha is not an identity. Alpha is a tool. Alpha is a concept. That's all it is. Does it make a girl wet? It's alpha. Does it make her comfortable? It's beta. Do you want her anxious or do you want her comfortable? Well, that depends. What do you want? Do you want to smash or do you want to have a family? And I'd argue, even if you do want a family, err on the side of more alpha behavior, because I find most of the guys that were in the married red pill or in the communities there are in a situation where the girl's falling out of lust with them, but is perfectly comfortable with everything else. So I don't think guys need any help on the beta front. But then again, maybe I'm just saying the case. Be more alpha, bro. Sprinkle more alpha on your life. That'll fix everything.
Yeah, sprinkle some alpha on him and let's go, Johnson.
Yeah. Well, and to be fair, Richard, incels in the UK, at least they're finally getting screwed.
uh, well, it's
Wait,
actually
why are
really
they asking you
interesting
for what? Why are they asking him for anything?
because I'm starting to see the incel. I've seen a couple of articles on it before, but now it's actually becoming a thing.
Oh, women
Like
are
researchers are like, we need to figure out how many incels that could be radicalized we have in our country. They could make a serious threat.
really. You know what's funny? I made an article on that. I called it Thoughtrazone. Like, ask your doctor if Thoughtrazone is right for you. To this day, I've cornered the Google market on it. I could Thoughtrazone. I'm the first on there, which is great when you make up a word. But I was just kind of making the case for that. That like, yeah, you're gonna have the casual sex. You're gonna have the soft harem thing with Tinder and that. You're gonna have a bunch of guys who are no longer sexless, and of a million guys that aren't getting laid, one of them is gonna be like school shooting crazy. So this is kind of like just a side effect of the decisions we've all made individually will manifest as, and we're gonna have more school shootings, more incel
Yeah,
shootings,
yeah.
and
It's
nobody
also
seems to
like
want to accept it.
like what's your total level of oh fuck? Well, like I kind of think of what's going on now is like it used to be. You always had like tons of fucking conspiracy theories. Like I remember hearing like the lizard theory back in like '98.
Right.
But they always used to be kind of isolated groups. So you had your flat earthers, your anti-vaxxers, your lizard people, your alien people. But now with the internet, all of those people have merged to become like the Megatron of crazy.
Oh wait, Voltron. You're thinking Voltron.
Now Voltron. I guess you've been hanging out too much with the masculine geeks too.
Actually, I was thinking Captain Planet when I first thought came in the head, like the 5 different rings. The Jewish conspiracy, yeah. The QAnon, yeah. The lizards, yeah. American politics, yeah. And then the fifth one is something like space aliens. Together we make Captain Retard.
I have used that meme before, but the point being, like, you used to have kind of isolated crazy in that, everyone has something they're kind of conspiratorial about. But
Right?
now you have people who are, like, conspiratorial about everything.
Yeah. I
And
think you
then,
made the case, didn't you, that most of this stuff is just an emergent property of like individual strategies. And I think that's a much easier way to conceptualize all this stuff. Like,
yeah,
there's
I
no
just
way
thought
you
it
can
was,
say that COVID is like a worldwide conspiracy. You just can't. There's no way that all these people are going to be in lockstep. They can't agree with each other on anything ever. Incompetence is running rife. Nobody's
yeah, I
actually
think
reading the science.
well, it's like the Hanlon's razor thing I've mentioned like 40 times on here that, always attribute to incompetence before you attribute to malice. And the point there is like, okay, so what's more likely? That COVID is a huge conspiracy to take away your freedom, or that you have a bunch of hairless monkeys trying to manage something under conditions of high risk, very little information, and then
Strong risk
you had
aversion.
the yeah, and then you also had the unfortunate thing that COVID kind of came close to an election, which kind of adds an extra spin on that shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and of course, this is what you're
So
going to get. Nobody could predicted it because we don't know. We never know until afterwards. And then you have 500 wonks. They all make 500 predictions, and the one guy who gets it right gets paraded around as he knew all the answers. Like the what's his name, Adam Schiff, where he always talks about the housing crisis. Like, I predicted the housing crisis. It's like, yeah, you always predict a housing crisis. The one time you were right, everybody's talking about you like you're Nostradamus.
yeah, but it's like Noel Rubini, Doctor Doom.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you're always like if you're half your career of like 40 years in economics has been you saying we're gonna have a massive crash. Of course, you're right a couple of times in 40 years,
Mm-hmm.
but you've been saying it for 40 years and it happened twice. Like if you said you had the world's best game and you got laid twice in 40 years, I think I have fairly good quantitative evidence that that's not the case. And that wasn't even like a low key slam on Rivoli. That was just a general principle.
You know what's funny? That's what I thought. I'm like, is he talking about Riv? I'm like, he's not, but he kind of is. That's funny. The greatest pickup artist account on Twitter. It's 8 girls in 10 years.
I have
You
to say
can't make
that.
that shit up. The most
Like,
popular red pill channel, yelling at drunk chicks and demanding they sleep with you in your DMs.
well, it's kind of, on one hand, I kind of abhor it, and on the other hand, I feel kind of sorry because there has to be something severely problematic going on in your life if you're doing game for 10 years and you get lucky 8 times.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. If you did no game, didn't even work on yourself, do you think you would just accidentally get 9?
Well, my question, like, just imagine that you just went out every single day for 10 years, walking up to chicks, being like, hey, do you want to fuck, yes or no? Would you have hit, like, 9 chicks in 10 years if you did, like, let's say 10,000 approaches a year? Would
Probably
9
could.
out of 100,000 chicks be like, yeah, you know what, I've been up all night doing cocaine, my dad just died, and I'm sad, just rail the shit out of me?
I would not doubt it. I really wouldn't. I like this one from Wando. We're just talking monkeys with nukes. Look at Joe Rogan with his pothead wisdom actually coming in right once or twice. That's good for him.
And that's kind of the thing with, but I think that's why I enjoy Rogan, though,
Hmm.
because you can tell there's a lot of weed in there. At the same time, you can tell that he has very strong convictions about his own beliefs, but he's had a very good interview, and I think that's why he comes over well. But he still has a lot of crazy opinions about things.
Yep.
Oof, that would be funny though. Like a suggestion for Ryan's new third channel, Dunkin' with Ryan. We just sit around dunking on people all day.
Oh, dude, that would be horrible. That's comment. That's like alt media. That's the Tim Pool model. Look at all these news reporters I'm reading. Aren't they a bunch of assholes? All right, guys,
You know
join
the
me for the real news.
you know the worst thing about that? I'm pretty sure you could make like a dedicated Manosphere dunking account and do like a 3 hour live stream every day and never run out of material.
Dude, you know what's funny? I tried that once. I was gonna make just a show, like a pre-recorded one, and I'm like, perfect. So I'll just read through a bunch of like tweets from the sphere, the guys talking online about stuff, and then the problem is like I couldn't make it funny. It was just the more I read, the sadder it got, and I'm just like, oh, this sounds like you're walking into a Paralympics and then start kicking legs out from underneath the high guys hobbling around. It's just yeah, we're a hard space to mock.
Yeah, and plus like there's always going to be that element, and I've seen that on my Twitter feed when I actually bother to read that shit.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of the line between so sad it's funny and so sad you really just have that aw the puppy got hit by a car feeling.
Yeah.
That line is really fucking thin, man.
It is, and it's hard. Like
Like
occasionally
I'm
I get some
actually
good things, but most of the
no, but
time
like
it's
I
not.
had a like I run like open DMs intermittently,
Mm-hmm.
and some of the DMs I've gotten, you start off and it's like you get one of those full pages worth of shit with the like the Batman origin story and everything, and you're going through it, and it's like, yes, and when I was 4, my grandma used to punish me by shoving a ladle up my ass.
Jesus Christ.
Then when I turned 5, the ladle wasn't big enough, so she started using a rolling pin. And when I got into 3rd grade, she'd lock me in the attic. And like halfway through this, you're kind of laughing because you think someone is fucking with you, and they're doing like the most extreme version of an origin story as a parody or something. And then you get to about the end, and it's like, oh, turns out this was all real. I feel bad now.
I've seen those too. Because you guys, I don't know if you guys know, but there's like, just from Reddit or Twitter and everything, there's always guys who make the copy paste of stories that are made up. And they always sound fantastical. So for some of you guys that really got screwed over, like you've got to be very careful because with your emotions, because most of the time we're going to assume you're fucking with us. I've seen that a lot. Carl's mic
Oh, it's
sounds like
also
he's cooking bacon. That's actually kind of funny.
yeah, I wish I was cooking bacon right now. It'd actually be really good with like some crispy fried bacon, tons of black pepper, and some fried tomatoes on there.
Oh, look at you going the full. What's that, like the full British or full
No, the
English?
full English. Full English is a lot more. I always just thought like the combo of crispy bacon
Mm-hmm.
and soft and acidic tomatoes goes great together.
Oh, fair enough. I just knew tomatoes had some of the same proteins that beef has. That's why they go together so well. Okay. You know what? Here, let's do some fixing things. So we're going to take a small break to talk to Dogmatics one here. Normally, I save these for the super chats, but what the hey? We got 2 hours to kill. If any of you all had a problem with weed, and how do you overcome? Daily smoking despite drawbacks. All right. So my first thought is, have you ever decided just to not buy any and throw out what's in your house?
Are you asking me?
No, I'm
Okay.
asking him, but you can chime in here. At that point, it was a dramatic pause. I drink Diet Cokes a lot, or Coke Zeros, or if I have cookies in the house, I'll eat cookies. If I have candy in the house, I'll eat candy. If I stop buying it and I throw out what's in the house, I just stop eating it because there's that hurdle. Like, do I want it bad enough that I want to go put on some shoes, go to the store, put on a mask, grab the thing, bring it home, and by then I don't want it anymore. And so I just don't eat candy if I don't buy it and put it in the house. So I hear guys talking about like, yeah, do you guys have it where you smoke weed every day? I'm like, just don't buy any. And then your body will figure something out. Either you want it so bad that you're willing to go run a kilometer to your dealer's house or whatever and get it, or you don't want it that bad and you just kind of lose interest.
I would say like I've seen some guys who get problems with weed, but at that point, like I know guys who function well smoking all day every day.
Really?
Yeah, but it's those are the guys that it's the same thing with steroids, right? And TRT and that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know guys who self-prescribe, dose, and inject themselves with their own quote unquote TRT, right? They're organized. They have everything weighed out. They have everything on lock. Those guys rarely have a problem. But when you get those guys who are like, yeah, I just take 4 of those, 5 of those, 6 of those, 7 of those, and then I inject myself in the ass. Well, how much is that total? Oh, I don't know, man. That's when
Oh.
you start to get the problem because it's like, I'm pretty sure that if I was a surgeon, I could do surgery high. But have you seen the comedian called Gabriel Iglesias?
Name
Like
sounds
a
familiar.
big
Is it
fat,
the UK one?
big fat Latino dude.
Oh, okay. No, I don't know. I'm not familiar.
Yeah, he has this bit in like I think it's his first show where he goes through like the levels of fat.
Mm-hmm.
I'll see if I can find them here.
All right. Yeah, and
The
somebody's
point
here
with
is
that
talking about
is,
it's like you're just saying you're lazy. It's like, yeah, people make the easy decisions, the instinctive decisions more often than not. That's why I was saying if you want to go to the gym more often, the easiest thing to do is put your gym bag by the door. Go to the gym on your way home from work. Because as soon as you get home, then you have to have that extra hurdle just to get up to go to the gym. And I'm just saying to use that exact same process to stop smoking weed. And then once you're in the gym, what are you going to do? You're going to work out. You're not going to sit there and not work out. Environment matters.
yeah, I would say also like if you have a problem, just stop wake and baking.
Wake and oh, as soon as you wake up.
Yeah. The 5 levels of fat: big, healthy, husky, fluffy, damn, and oh hell no. There's 6 levels, not five. And
Fair
it's the
enough.
same thing, and it's kind of the same thing with weed. Because, like, I have this thing where I'll never smoke if I'm going to be working.
Mm-hmm.
I'll happily smoke after. But that naturally kind of regulates the amount I'm able to consume, right?
Well, yeah, because you have something better to do.
And I think the people start getting problems when it's like, oh, I have nothing better to do than stay at home and smoke weed all day. Because weed does have a way, at least with me, of zapping your motivations a little bit.
I noticed that it zaps my ability to want to stay awake.
So I kind of see, but at that point, it's just don't do it if you have shit to do.
Dude, and I find that's the thing too. For a lot of guys, they do this with what's that? The no, like the jerking off thing, the master jerking
Yeah,
off
no
about not
fap,
jerking
yeah.
off. Yeah, semen retention and that, and with weed, with booze, with Xbox, with video games. It's all, and they aren't really the problem. They're just like the filler activity. It's because there's something missing in life, something better to do. Because I'm with you. There's been days where I'm busy as hell. I don't play Tekken when I'm busy as hell. I'll be just like swamped with work. I'll wake up, go to work, and finish work, and then go to sleep. This happen all the time, and it's just because you have something better to do. And that's the thing. You can't really just tell guys like, "I'm drunk all the time. What do I do?" It's like, well, fucking fill your time with something more productive. It's a hard. It's like, you know what I mean. It's not actionable. It's just like an abstract, like feel good. So I always have a hard
Yeah, and
time answering those ones.
I would draw the parallel there to back to not texting girls nonstop. Like if you have shit to do, you don't need that. Oh, 2 texts every one of her three. Wait 20 minutes plus X. You don't need that if you're actually busy.
Mm-hmm.
Or like if you happen to hate the person you're with a little bit, so you see that message and you're like, that's the fifth message in 10 minutes. Fuck that cunt. I'm gonna play video games. I'll teach you to blow up my fucking phone.
I've literally done that. Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2. My girl, she wanted to go to some like street festival, and I was just like, fuck it. I'm tired. I just sailed. I'm done. 5 headshots. Well worth it.
But
But
also,
yeah,
I think
and
the equivalence between like weed and alcohol, because I'm not sure how it is for everyone, and I'm trying to be kind of careful with equating my n equal ones to the general population, unlike most journalists. And with alcohol, I was kind of raised with like a natural limit limitation system. Like I
right.
was raised like, yeah, you're not supposed to have alcohol every day. You never drink before 6. And that kind of naturally limits you a little bit. Like I don't follow those rules now, obviously, but um, just knowing that this is a substance you need to somewhat limit helps you control it. With
Yep.
weed, the culture has kind of been become that okay, it's cool to be blazed all day,
Well, yeah, because it's not
but
dangerous. It won't hurt, it won't kill you like alcohol or cigarettes will. So you can use it all the time.
yeah, and I kind of get why because I mean life is a lot more fun high.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like you were getting onto, it becomes kind of a filler activity where, okay, I'm bored, I'm gonna go smoke weed.
And it's
And
funny. Do you know how
when
many?
once
Oh, finish your part first.
and once you get to that point where you're essentially doing something as a filler activity, like, okay, let's see, I'm bored, I'm gonna go jack off, or I'm gonna go smoke weed, or I'm gonna go get drunk. You end up overdoing it, and then you get into a situation where you get shit to do, but now you've kind of developed a dependence, so now it's hard not to be high all the time, which is not good when you just got hired as an airline pilot.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I was thinking with the guys talking about the jerking off thing. It's like, yeah, if you don't jerk off, then you have that spare time and you get bored. Great small story. Basic training. Our recruiter screwed up the dates. We got there, I think it was like 2 days early, and everybody flew in. We all got in there. The instructors didn't know what to do with us. The schedule doesn't have you guys starting until like whatever day it was. I can't remember. So just sit here in the barracks. It's like, okay, can we leave? Like, no, you can't leave the barracks. We're not going to let you go out in the city. You sit here and we'll see you in 2 days. The meal hall's over there. Just go eat. We didn't have anything. I think we had one of us had one deck of cards because everybody thought it's basic training. You can't bring toys with you. We're going to be so busy. Do you know how bored you can get 2 days locked in the building with 50 people you've never met before and one deck of cards? You are so bored that Monday, whatever day rolled around, the instructors come in, started yelling at us about basic training, standing at attention. Everybody was so relieved to have something to do that we crushed it for like the first week. We ended up screwing it up later, but yeah, that was like, they were like, I was amazed. You guys came in. Usually it's like having to break guys down and build them back up, but you guys were just so eager. It's like, because we were dying of boredom. And I was thinking for like the weed thing, the booze thing, the no fap thing, all of it, just by not doing it, your body gets bored, and just to stave off the boredom, you're going to do some shit. Of course you're going to talk to a girl. I haven't fucking jerked off in 2 weeks. That's not semen retention. It's just boredom retention.
And it's always easy to get yourself to do boring shit. Like I remember at some point I was working on locations. I was in, I think the word labor camps have a little bit too much Austrian painter references, but a similar deal. Like think oil field roughneck type situation.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how easy it is to motivate yourself to working out when the only things you have to do is watch sports on TV, drink, go to work, sleep, and work out. You'd be surprised how easy it is to prioritize those fucking workouts, man.
Dude, you just described my deployment. That was it. I used to get anxiety when I didn't work out, even though I was sore and hurt and my muscles were killing me. But I'm like, if I don't work out, I got nothing else to do, and I'm just going to sit here being a rambling mess.
Like, and it's kind of weird when you're like, remember at one point, like I was kind of tricking myself to see how much volume I could do. Can I actually work out every day?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you can barely get up because my legs were fried from squatting and deadlifting the day before, and it's like almost dragging yourself on your fucking knuckles to the gym.
Yeah.
Just to have that break in the day.
God, I miss and I don't. I miss having the feeling, but I like missing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm kind of glad I don't have it like that, but sometimes you're like, would be nice if I could remove all these complicating factors from my life for like 3-4 months. I could really double down on the gym and eating right and doing everything right.
Oh, it'd be so much fun. I could. If I get ahead of myself on these mid-watches and just like skip the podcast for a couple weeks, I could totally just take 3 weeks and do nothing but write book, fuck, and gym. Well, except for the gym thing. Once they remove restrictions and they open up the pool again, I can do that. I might just do that. Just take 2 weeks off for one of them staycations. Dude, thank you, Mr. I Smoke Weed Every Day, man. You just kind of inspired me for my next lockdown removal plan.
Yeah, Ryan's going to take 2 weeks off and just smoke weed.
Dude, we have weed in this house somewhere. It got legal. We bought it. It's like 5 grams. I don't remember which one it was. It was the one you recommended, the sativa or whatever. I don't know where it is. I forgot where we put it. I'd have to go hunting for it. I just like, now that they made it legal, I'm like, meh, I'm over it.
Well, I think that's a factor thing, because I was kind of looking into that, because when it's legal, then you know when it's available, and you know that it's available, so you don't really think about it. When you have to call a guy, and you have to meet him in the back of a car, or you have to go to his place, or he comes and delivers it to you, at that point you have to pre-plan.
Yeah.
Because, like, when you have a dispensary, it's like they're open, let's say 10 to 6, or whatever.
Right.
They're open. It's not going to be like, yeah, I was supposed to open the dispensary at 10, but I kind of slept in, then I decided to fuck, and we just didn't open today like a normal weed dealer does. But at the same time, though, that, like, little level of unpredictability is kind of what makes it exciting. That, okay, let's see, I have to go get it, and then I have to find someone who has it, and that dude has to actually be awake. So there's a little level of extra excitement in it.
Yeah, that might be it. Or maybe just the idea of, like, left the military. I'm like, you know what? Fuck that guy. I'll do what I want. You can't tell me what to do. And they're like, sure, we'll do weed. Well, I'm not doing what you tell me to. Fuck that. Or like Sam Whiskey. I hear opium and a Kalashnikov go together. Didn't they ban opium in Afghanistan again?
They haven't done it yet. They're talking about it. I think that's going to be a disaster.
Well, of course it will. To be fair, a lot more people in the Midwest will stop ODing, so that's a good thing.
No, they won't. They'll get you no, you'll get even more fentanyl in the opiate supply.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the fentanyl thing. All right, yeah, fair enough. You're gonna get more deaths, but less pure shit.
Yeah, but look at the positive side though. Like if the infection rate with drug addicts is below 1, then we kill them fast enough with the drug policy that they can't infect enough people to keep it going.
Wait, infect them? You talking about with COVID or with AIDS? The shared
No, I was
needle shit.
talking drug addiction. It's
Oh, the
just
drug
playing around with.
addiction. You can infect somebody with drug addiction? God damn.
I've actually heard the argument about that, that drug addiction is actually an epidemic and it's a disease rather than, people not liking life.
Oh, see, and I kind of get where. You know what I hate about those arguments? Like, I can see what they're going with, but it just doesn't make sense the way they worded it. Like with the COVID vaccine, they're calling it vaccine, but it doesn't provide immunity. So that means it's not a vaccine. But I get what they're trying to say. I just hate how people are really flimsy with the language there. But I guess
Yeah,
that's
I
the
do.
theme for the show, right? Calling, oh, just be more alpha, bro. It's like, oh, for fuck's sakes.
Yeah, but flimsy with language is like half our podcast, right?
Yeah. Well, no, we are good with our language. We mean what we say and we say what we mean. We're flimsy with the topics, maybe. We're flimsy with the direction that the cast goes, and we may drift, but we're always on point. When you talk about a chef's knife, you're actually talking about a fucking chef's knife, not a goddamn cleaver, for example.
No, but I didn't mean like that. I'm just saying that half our podcasts are us taking the piss out of people who are using imprecise language.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, fair enough.
And
You
that
know
it
what? I
kind of
find this
gets me in my
important.
it kind of gets me in my private life too and at work because
Mm-hmm.
I can kind of get there's a space for flimsy, uh, imprecise language. It's not when you're trying to explain shit to people.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty much a fair example.
Well,
And I
to
agree
go with your
sometimes too
chef's
people use
knife.
imprecise language or they fuck up metaphors, but you know what they're trying to say and you can just let that shit slide, but yeah, not when you're explaining.
Yeah, but it's like there's a reason why surgeons ask like, "Give me a number 2 blade," and there's a reason why you don't stand there like an idiot trying to chop hard root vegetables with a deboning knife or a filleting knife.
Yeah. It's because things have a
Where you,
purpose and if you use
you know,
imprecise language or the wrong tool, you're going to end up making your life a lot harder or possibly more dangerous.
that was actually one of those funny like stories of mine because my dad was always one of those guys you make do with what you have. Don't spend money unnecessarily on things if you can fix it with something you already have, right?
Oh, yeah.
So my dad was like, okay, we need to hammer in that. I can't find the hammer. Fuck it, I'll use a wrench. And if you take that to the extreme, you start to realize at some point you're expending 10 times the energy you need to do something to do it because instead of spending like $5 to go and get a cheap hammer.
Dude, I was just telling that story on Twitter yesterday. Never pick up the same rock twice. That same thing. Whenever we harrowed the field, my summers as a kid were spent picking rocks out of a field, and we had a tractor with a bucket. And we throw the rocks into the bucket, and then you drive the tractor off and you dump it on the side there. I had the clever channel idea that I could save myself a bunch of work, so that I'd pick up the rocks and I put them all into piles. And then I'd take the tractor afterwards and go and pick up the rocks, put them in the bucket as like a thing. And I'm like, I'm saving myself tons of energy. My stepdad grabbed me by the scruff of the neck and fucking shook me around. He's like, you fucking idiot. And yeah, it just turns out I was just picking up rocks twice because I was too lazy to start the tractor, every 5 minutes and have it do all the heavy lifting instead. And you're absolutely right. That's like the equivalent of me hammering something with a pipe wrench. It's one of those lessons that I learned, but I don't want to give the guy credit from it because he was like fucking shaking a 9-year-old around, but whatever. I don't know why it made me think of
Yeah,
that.
but
Anyways,
it's
Cal here.
well, it's the same thing. Like when you watch someone who doesn't really know, like when I switched places now, I
Mm-hmm.
drove like half the family nuts by pointing out all the mistakes the previous owners had made.
Right.
Okay, that electrical work is not up to code. They've that's crooked. That's not right. And it's just on the basis of if you've done something like 10 times, you know how it's supposed to look and supposed to be. It's kind of what drove me nuts with baking to begin with.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I learned how to bake from my grandmother when I was really young.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandmother is a very tactile chef.
Oh, so the pinch of salt type person, not the 10 milligram person.
Yeah, and also like the dough is supposed to feel like this. Okay, but what does this feel like? And after a while when you've done it, okay, this is how it's supposed to feel.
Right.
But until you get to that level of understanding, you just can't handle it. And it's the same thing with game, to be honest. Like once you've seen, the indicators of interest once or twice, once you've seen a few of the things, you will always recognize them. But if you haven't seen them, then you have no idea what that looks like. I think that's why one of the most searched questions about girls on the internet is always going to be like, how do I know if she's into me?
It's funny too, because yeah, you're right. If you understand it, it sounds like such an asinine question. It's like, dude, how can you not tell? She's standing right there. The guy didn't think, but the guy doesn't know what those signals are. Hence why John gets to make $1 million selling a body language mastery course, just showing guys, here's what you look for. Here's 10 things. Number 3 will surprise you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, but it makes sense though, right? Because I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we are talking guys that a lot of the time are like 10 years, 10, 20 years behind their peers in like development in that area of their life.
Oh yeah, not shitting on him at all. I get it. Like sometimes people learn it later. It happens.
At least it's not like the 90s movies where like the ugly girl was just a hottie with huge tits and like dirty overalls.
Oh yeah, just take off the overalls, take off the glasses, and let your hair down. Holy shit, it's a supermodel. Those are the same guys that didn't know Superman was just Clark Kent. Oh, without those glasses, now I see it. Now I see it.
Yeah, I'm still
Yeah.
kind of wondering though, like now that's an established part of suspension of disbelief, like their sound in space in Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
But imagine dropping that now with the amount of smarks we have in the different fan groups.
Oh, dude, those are insufferable. What are they? What's the saying? It's cinema sins has ruined a generation of movie critics.
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, it was a good one. It's been floating around a bit in like the video game community, essentially just nitpicking over stupid things there, ignoring suspension of disbelief, and completely missing the point, which is such a guy thing to do. That's why
Well,
I
I do
loved your
like
Riv
CinemaSins.
jab. What's that?
I do love CinemaSins.
I don't know. To me, it's too snarky and not entertaining enough. Like
It
I'll
is.
love
I
Red
mean,
Letter Media when they're doing the same thing, but they managed to make it entertaining.
fair enough.
But I guess this is a preference thing. Whatever.
But the reason why I think those type of things are, you can go too far with that though.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like what makes me sad with like Generation Z.
Mm-hmm.
Is that you're not supposed to be that fucking cynical when you're 15.
I don't know, man. That reminds me of like, do you remember the Nirvana millennial age, where everything was try hard, and why are you putting effort into that? Fuck that. It was like kind of a lazy cynicism. I kind of like seeing the Gen Zs have it, thinking like, hey, we just invented teenage cynicism. I'm like, for fuck's sakes, kids, let me introduce you to something called grunge.
Well, I do think that was funny though. Have you seen like the new, well, it's not a new movie, but like the 21 Jump Street movie?
Yeah, the ones with fuck, I
Jonah
don't remember the
Hill
names.
and is it Channing Tatum?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, I watched both of those. They're pretty funny.
Yeah, like what I liked with the first one was when they come back to high school and Channing had kind of worked out exactly what you need to do to be popular in high school in 2001 or something
Yeah.
like that. And he comes back in 2020. He's like, these kids are empathic. They care about things.
I don't know why that would made me laugh.
Because I kind of remember that thing from like the mid to, let's say from 95 to 2005 ish.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was like, you were not supposed to look like you put effort into anything.
No. Oh, dude.
Like,
Last thing you wanted to be was a tryhard. One
like
word. You didn't even
the
put a
sig-
space in tryhard. That's how lazy you had to be.
Yeah, but even like imagine like we got it to the point where we actually had a haircut especially designed to be like I don't give a shit, but I actually put a ton of work in, like the faux bedhead thing.
Oh, yeah. Case in
Spent
point.
like 45 minutes making your hair look like you didn't do anything to it.
Yeah, the hoodie and jean look became big back then. The whole thing. Or the wearing the thrift store shit. Like, I couldn't be bothered to go to a real store to buy my clothes, so I got some thrift stuff. Nothing fits. leftover shit from the 70s. You got the ripped back and the remember your jeans, the back would have that torn piece because you didn't want to hem anything. Yeah, it was all about being lazy, which kind of explains now because now those people are all 40 and they're the ones running the country and saving us from COVID. So it all makes sense.
I no, I wouldn't say I would. That's a bit of a. I wouldn't say those people are the ones running COVID. The generation who are 10, 20 years older are running the country. Like,
Oh,
because did you notice how much less urgent COVID got once the people over 50 got their vaccines?
I had not until you brought it up, but now that you mention it, yeah. I just assumed it was because like there was some new outrage thing to get on. But you're right. Once they were safe, it was fine.
Yeah, it's like I've been arguing that for months. Like this, all COVID has been is people under 30 taking the hits so the boomers can monopolize the money for another 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it would have been good, like if kind of sad to say it, but it would have been good with a few more deaths just so the boomers got the point that they're mortal.
Dude, I am surprised how many people are treating this COVID thing as like a proxy for their fear of death. Boggles the mind. Like that's because
And
it was clear to me when they start once the vaccine like roll out, people are starting to admit, look, it's not gonna, you're still gonna contract it, but the symptoms are gonna be less. And if you were gonna die, now you're not. And then it kind of lets you know how many people are they're just afraid of death. They're afraid of dying. They don't care about comorbidities or age demographics and that. It's like, no, if I can get it, I might die. So we must stop everything so I can live forever.
yeah, but at the same time, like one of the things I've been bringing up is like you can kind of see the environmental damage people who work in health have
Mm-hmm.
because like I've brought up the police analogy a lot of time because cops tend to think they have a spidey sense that they can tell who's guilty or not, right?
Right.
And that is usually based on the fact that cops suspect everyone. Like, there's a reason why so many cops end up getting divorced. It's that they suspect their wife is cheating, and most of the time she is. Anyway, point being that with health people, they tend to always view it that, like, anything that will save lives is okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we tanked the economy, people are killing themselves because of loneliness, but at least we got a low infection rate with COVID.
Well, you can ignore those. What do they call those? Second order consequences or whatever?
Yeah, point being that, like, when you're governed by the equivalency of an accounting department, things doesn't end that well.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, because they're only
Because
focused on the spreadsheet. They don't care about anything else.
yeah, they only see what happened last week. They're not really looking at okay, what's going to happen this week. You know, okay, like 85% of people are vaccinated, so even if like everyone got it, we wouldn't have that many people in the hospital. That type of thing.
Yeah. Well, hey, we're almost at the end, but I'll tell you, like, perfect example of that, Toronto Airport. Because of COVID, nobody was flying, so everybody wanted to save a bunch of money, so they laid off all, like, the baggage handlers, right? And now people are starting to fly again, and because of the CERB payments, nobody wants to go back to work. So it turned, and now the problem is nobody wants to fly anymore because it's like 3 hours to get your luggage on and off a plane. So everybody's like, you know what, fuck it, I'll just wait. So it turns out the money they saved by not having those baggage handlers at work, they're now losing that in lost airline revenue. And it's a perfect example of what you were talking about with the COVID thing roll out there. Just everybody's incentivized to look at like the accountant at the short-term balance sheet and not thinking about any second or third order consequences.
Yeah, and I've also kind of been noticing the shifting goalposts.
Oh yeah,
Well,
weapons
because
of mass destruction. Now we're saving the Iraqi people.
yeah, but like in the beginning, it was all about okay, we have to keep the deaths low. We have to make sure we don't have a lot of people infected because we don't have enough ventilators, we don't have enough hospitals, we don't have enough healthcare personnel.
Mm-hmm.
Then it became okay, now we just have to slow the infection. Because no one's dying from this and barely anyone is going to the hospital, so now we're just going to focus 100% on how many people got infected.
Right.
But at the same time, the number of infected are so low that like one fucking Sikh wedding will double the numbers overnight.
Oh yeah,
So
new
you get
lockdown.
you
Somebody just got married.
well, you get one of those self-fulfilling prophecies because you end up getting the numbers so low that any change will look extreme. Like
Oh, and there's no way to lose this argument either. It's if your predictions don't pan out, well, thank God, guys, because of this action we took, we avoided it. And if they do happen, it's like we better double down on this, guys. I told you it was coming. It's like you can't win.
yeah, if you guys had just stuck with what they told you to do, this wouldn't have happened.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's never the policy's fault for being unenforceable. It always is the people's fault for not listening. Oh, you get me going off on
Yeah,
this one.
yeah, but dude, like, how much does that have in common with the "woe is me, just call me a faggot, the married red pill" first posts?
Oh my God! Actually, there hasn't been a lot of those lately. Thank God. I think because I think there was like the stop calling me a faggot stuff finally sunk in. Either that or it just comes in waves. It's like this weird Catholic confession thing. If you guys in the audience don't know what we're talking about, most guys, there's like a few different types of guys that send reports. This guy is the one, he comes in there and, my wife's a bitch, my life's a train wreck, my kids hate me, blah, blah, blah. I fucked up this, I fucked up this, I fucked up this. Just like, call me an asshole. It's this weird thing. And then they say it. And then everybody sits in there and rips into him, calls him a loser, calls him a beta male. And then he feels good. Like, oh, great, I was punished for my sins. And now I can go on being a fuck up. And I'll come back in 3 months. You guys can yell at me again. I fucking hate that stuff. God, you got me all worked up on that one.
Yeah, but the point being that that's kind of very similar to COVID because it's all really woolly. Because they're all trying to get you to have a reaction while not really giving you any reason why you should invest in them.
It's a good point.
And it's kind of the same with the responses. They keep giving you like things you're supposed to be doing, but they're not really giving you any reason to follow through. Because that's been one of those things I've been noticing, because during the whole pandemic, you've had people who were just like, well, fuck that, I'm not going to bother.
Right.
And every time you've had that in media, this and this Instagram influencer was in Dubai. Or this and this famous person just flew to some island on his private jet. And I think the lives of the rich and famous haven't changed. It's like the average dude who's been locked in his fucking apartment all year that have really been suffering.
Yeah.
Because it's not. We had like the argument here for a while. Like, can you imagine how easy it is to be quarantined in like a huge house with your own private garden versus, okay, I'm locked in a 13th floor walk-up apartment with, my entire family of 10?
It's night and day. Night and day different.
Like, the guy I felt the most sorry for during all of fucking COVID is a guy I worked with on my last project who has 6 kids. All of them were having schooling at home. He was working from home, and his wife was working from home at the same time. There were 8 fucking people in an apartment that's fit for about 4.
Yeah. And it's doable if there's things to do all day. You can leave the house, you go to your job, you go out to dinner, whatever. But yeah, if you're just stuck. The girl and I are, like, we got a system, so we're good, but most people don't have that system. They're pretty pained.
Well, it's kind of like the same argument I've been making with when you go on vacation, should you splurge for a nice hotel room?
Mm-hmm.
My answer is 90% of the cases no. Because you're not going to spend a ton of time in your hotel room.
Yeah, you shouldn't. Want to, anyway. I always argue it's same as you, location. Get yourself where you're closest to the things you want to do. That's your primary concern. Although here, we're running a little over time. Rolo's doing Rule Zero in a bit, and I got to go grab some breakfast. So I'll end it on Alex, 10 New Zealand dollars. Oh, you poor bastard. Sorry about your warrant lockdowns now, but just want to say, watch the Onion video, how to play golf against the man whose wife you're banging on the side. And here's some money for weed. Thanks, man. It's fine. It's cheap as hell here. We can get it wherever. It's just a matter of finding the goddamn box. I'm sure it's here somewhere. Any closing thoughts, Carl?
I need more coffee.
Oh, yeah, me too. Anyways, so it's going to be Rolo, 20 minutes, and we're talking about the whole OnlyFans thing there, so it should be fun. I got nothing else, so I'm going to end it off.